Hello, am I live? I hope I am. I'm trying to figure out. I've been working on my setup for streaming, and so I have things rewired differently, and I just need to know if anyone can hear me. It looks like you probably can. So I will go ahead and get started. I was watching a video by Sonia, and she has a channel. It is in my description. I would suggest that if you're interested in learning about behavior and especially the behavior of narcissists, that you would go and subscribe to that channel. I feel like Sonia is one of the best people to learn from. I've learned a lot from her, and she always provokes thought in me. And so I'm live. Go potty, baby. Go potty. Love you. And she's always thought-provoking for me. And I hope I have mentioned to her that I would like to talk about some of the things she talks about. I am going to be playing her most recent video simply because I find it difficult to stay on topic, and I really want to stay on this topic. And so by listening to her, I'll be able to get my own thoughts out in a more organized manner. We all know that my brain tends to do its own thing. So I'm going to go ahead and start this video. I'm going to share it, and should Sonia not want me to do that, she is more than welcome to let me know, and I will immediately take it down. But I'm hoping that everyone will run over and subscribe to her. She's very informative. I learn from her every time I listen to her. She explains things in a way that it's easy for someone who knows, who's been educated, or who has experienced the things she's going through or that she's talking about, for them to understand, but also for people who know nothing about it. She doesn't use a lot of like jargon and language that you won't understand. She really has a way of making it palatable for everyone to consume and understand. So again, and I'll put it in the chat here as well. This should be a link to her channel. If you're interested in that type of material, please make sure that you subscribe to her. And I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So let me screen share here. Give me 1 second. Okay, it should be screen sharing now. Okay, so here we have her stream. It's titled True Crime and Tragedy Pimps, the Difference in Behavior and How Your Emotions Are Used Against You. So I'm going to start playing it, and I'll be stopping it when I have something that I would like to say. But she does a really good job of describing it anyway. There are just things that I want to review and maybe go in a little deeper on from a different perspective. And I hope you will listen along and learn something. So here we go.
Buddy, welcome back. So if you watched my drama mini-series where I touched on the narcissism that I think is involved in these cases of Cash Gurner and Summer Wells, and you can even go back and say the Chris Watts case, that one went chaotic, dramatic, histrionic, it's still being talked about, picked apart, dramatized, sensationalized. There's no end to it. The streams every single day still about Chris Watts. The little cowboys from California City, Orrin and Orson West, Sincere and, I can forget the second name. I feel terrible now, right? The little awesome, the little West Boys from California City. There was the same drama surrounding that. They were making mistakes with identities, accusing people of being possibly the adopted parent when she wasn't. I mean, they turned up to her house. If you go and watch some of the videos about that, I mean, it ended up on the news. It got covered on the news a couple of times about YouTubers being involved in true crime cases, present to date cases. Now, there's the question of the reward money. Okay, for me personally, I do see certain creators driven purely because of that reward money. It's about the reward money. It's about getting to the reward money. They don't care what kind of drama or histrionics or fuckery they stir up. It's about getting that reward money for those cases. The drama involved, for me, I think is disgusting. I think it is the last thing true crime needs. I don't even believe it to be true crime. It's more like it's drama. It's a cross between drama and crime. I don't personally believe the two go together. One is toxic and one is serious and heartfelt and emotional. And there's real people involved who are suffering a trauma, having a child go missing, being accused of anything to do with that child going missing, and having it talked about all over social media. How is that not a trauma if you're innocent, right? Because there's been cases I've covered myself personally in the past, not covered as in, I should say followed rather, right? And I can remember this guy, and it really looks like it was this guy, okay? Had to be this guy. It was him. He had a history of the crime that this case was about, SA. He'd just been let out of prison, just been released. He was in the same area. He didn't have an alibi, all the rest of it, right? And the police believed it to be him. Everything looked like it was going to be him. The DNA came back though, and it actually wasn't him. But every single thing pointed towards it being him. And that case alone, I wish I could remember which one it was, because that taught me, that case, that certain set of situations can happen around us at any time, wherever we are, right? And something can happen, and it could look like it was us when it genuinely wasn't us. So for me, I appreciate that, yeah, suspicion can lean towards certain people, or by their behaviour, obviously, the micro expressions, the things they say, the things they don't say. I'm down with all that behavioural psychology analysis stuff, right? I'm down with it all. But you have to be open to the idea of being incorrect. And as you're going along the case and having your suspicions leading to certain people involved in the case, like family members perhaps, you always need to leave that tiny bit of leeway that you could actually be wrong, right? I won't get into Chris McDonald stuff, but his story alone tells you that you really can be wrong. And he was, you know, allegedly, or is an expert on that kind of thing. And yet he was wrong with that child that got put away and interviewed, and all the rest of that, right? So this Summer Wells case, and
okay, so what Sonia is doing here is she is letting us know what she's going to be talking about. She's going to be talking about these child abduction or child murder cases. And she, as you can see, like right from the start, and this is why I love to listen to Sonia, is that she is not one-track minded. She comes up with this case that she admits, you know, she was very determined on who she thought had done it, and that everything led to that. And then it turns out that this person did not do it. DNA exonerated them. And so what Sonia is showing here is how, when the mind is given different information from what you believed, that you have to learn from that. There are so many people who continue to go into, and this is just from what I see, I don't watch a lot of true crime, but I watch enough of it to see people making the same mistakes over and over again. Because how it turns out actually is that on YouTube, your mistakes pay, okay? The chaos, the confusion, the drama, the histrionics, as Sonia will get into in a bit here, they pay. They bring in the audience, They bring in the attention. They get your name out there. People DMing each other. Did you see so-and-so freak out today? Okay, so if you are just a person, although before I state this, I do need to say that there are a couple people who draw huge crowds and make money doing what they're doing, and they do not participate in the behaviors that are what generally draw an audience. And so that is nice to see. Maybe it's going to catch on. Maybe more people will realize that they don't have to, get so dramatic and so defiant and so unscrupulous if they want an audience and if they, want to make a little money on what they're doing. But in general, people will continue to make the same mistakes over and over because those mistakes are very rewarding. So I agree with what she's saying right here, but I also want to point out that she has addressed that when you find out that your behavior, like believing something wholeheartedly, and then you're presented with different evidence, and this is something that we've all talked about a little bit on here, is cognitive dissonance, okay? And that's when your mind is presented with new information that tries to oust the old information or your old beliefs, and it causes a lot of uncomfortableness. At any rate, Sonia is so spot on here when she says that she learned from the mistake of completely, having this guy thought guilty and no one could have changed her mind. DNA comes back, he's not guilty. She's learned from that. And I think that more people need to learn from that, because I believe that if you are going in 100% that someone is guilty before there is definitive evidence and before it has happened in a court of law, that evidence has been presented and a decision has been made, you are being unfair to yourself and to the person you're accusing. There is always a chance that you are wrong. And if you're investigating anything, I think most investigators would tell you that if you are convinced that your job is done just based on conjecture and, evidence or behaviors or whatever that aren't solidified, that aren't, witnessed, that aren't caught on tape, that aren't caught on camera, whatever, then you are doing a disservice to your job. There should always be a doubt in your mind, as long as you're investigating, that you are 100% correct, and you should be working to that end. So.
And I do sincerely pray.
Hey,
that somehow,
Fartsy.
somewhere,
hey, Shauna. Hi, Callie.
Right. Cash Gurnham, that was just, it was like watching a horror film, being able to see the moment that happens however many times a day around the world where a child is taken, and being able to see that happen. I don't think I'll ever forget that video, right? A dreadful case. I don't think I'll ever forget that case, or that little boy, right? Or his brother, right? I'll always, probably throughout the years, wonder about that brother and how he is. Which leads me to the way the families are treated, right? Cash Gurnan's grandmother, the way that she's been treated, the way that all the family have been treated, the things that they were saying about the mum, she's a truck driver, she's a drinker, she didn't want the kids anyway, he had full custody of the twins. Like, there's no respect, no composure, no patience, no self-control, right? So I have made a few notes just to talk about, because we're going to talk about these cases somewhere else in the coverage that they're getting, because the coverage that they're getting, I don't think is, this isn't about pushing her name out there. This is personal. People have agendas, right, of wanting to uncover family secrets or family history and have it somehow lead them to an answer to discover where and what happened to Summer Wells, right? And the way they're going about it, they are absolutely reckless. They are destroying family reputations. They are destroying ties between families and friends and community members, as in like the Cash Gurnan thing. They had neighbours on who were talking to other family members or people that knew them or that used to date them years ago, right? I mean, what did that do? How did that help the Cash Gurnan case? How was that helping the police officers with it?
I'm going to stop her right there because she is exactly right again. And you're going to find that I'm going to agree with Sonia throughout most of this. There will probably never be many times that I would disagree with her. Sonia knows what she's talking about. This is why I watch her. And this is why I suggest that if you're interested in especially narcissism, as that is one of the topics that she is really good about, but other topics as well. She does some, just reviews of things and codependency, things like that. She's very knowledgeable about those things. She's definitely found her niche. Please subscribe to her if you are interested in those types of topics. But yes, what we see happening here on YouTube, and this is what may happen to a certain extent in real life investigations, like in real life. The people who were trained to be investigators and the people who document things, yes, they do look into people's pasts because, as we know, someone who has a history of a certain crime or a history of escalating crimes is more likely to have committed a current crime than someone who has no crimes at all on their record. It does happen that people who have no crimes at all on their record do commit crimes. But for the most part, if you have someone who started out as a petty thief and then became, a bank robber and has a history of all this, and you're looking for someone who just, robbed a bank or whatever, someone who's out and has that history, yes, you need to look at them. The same with sexual assaults, the same with murder, the same with any crime. And sometimes it's not the same crime over and over. Some people escalate from small petty crimes like peeping Tom, whatever, on up to grander crimes such as sexual assault or abduction and murder. So it is important to know people's pasts when you're doing an investigation. The difference, however, is that these people on YouTube have not been trained to be investigators, first of all. And so when they go digging into people's pasts and then reporting what they've learned about these people, it needs to be done in a very careful and, well, in my opinion, it shouldn't be done at all. But if it is going to be done, and if the true investigators of the crime have released the information, it needs to be done in a responsible and ethical way. Because, in essence, what you are doing is taking personal, private information about people who are currently going through a significant trauma, and you're digging up other traumas of their life and throwing that into the flames of the fire. As Sonia says later, these are real people. These people are not just on the television and on the news and on the internet for your entertainment. These are real people, and they are already suffering a significant trauma by the loss of their child. Now, you can judge all you want later if they are in fact indicted and or testify or whatever and are found guilty of these crimes, whether or not they were truly traumatized. That can be done later. But in this moment, we have to assume that these are parents who are missing their child. Their child has been somehow torn from their life, and you are going to dig up further information that is likely traumatic as far as their past. and you're going to add that to the flames of what they're currently going through. Now, some people would say that if they're found guilty, why did they deserve to be treated kindly or treated with respect or treated with dignity? As I said, if they're found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, you can think whatever you want about how they're treated from that point on. But as Sonia pointed out earlier, there was someone she was 100% certain was guilty, and it was found that he was not because DNA didn't match. And that can happen at any time because there are still bad people out there. But not all of those bad people who have done things in their past are continuing to do so now. Is it likely that they make a good suspect if they've done bad things in the past, especially along these lines? Yes, it's likely. It's more likely, I should say, but it's not definitive. And so you are hurting people who are already traumatized in this moment. And I'll tell you this as well. When you reach out to these people and you're from the internet, these people are desperate to find their children. Desperate. I don't think there's a parent who would ever say that there is anything they would not do to get their child back if they were kidnapped. And so when someone reaches out to them, anyone, it makes them feel like anything is better than doing nothing. And so if they submit to you to give you an interview, I would ask that you consider treating them with the most dignity you can, because in their desperation, they're making very poor choices to, expose themselves on social media. Before social media was so, what's the word I want? Before it was so available, we only saw these things on the news. And yes, there were the few who would go to these people's homes or whatever. They would find them through phone books and all of our archaic ways before the internet. So yeah, people still did this then, but it is so available now to all of us that it actually is very easy to abuse. And any parent who can be made to feel like they're doing something to help get their child back is going to do that. And so when they submit to these interviews and they submit to people questioning them and they submit to showing you pictures of what's going on at funerals and things like that, I would say that you should challenge yourself not to give in to their desperation. I've lost my train of thought. I'm going to start Sonia again so I can get back on my topic here.
Anything to do with Darian, the guy that did it, right? They knew who did it. So all of that drama and all that chaos and all the histrionic sensationalizing, what did it actually do for the case? The only thing it did, if you look back at the aftermath of all of that, is damage those people and increase the trauma that they went through. What healthy person with a conscience can do and continue to do things like this? For me personally, all of this with Summer Wells and Cash Gurn, and even Chris Watts, the way that MGL handled that case, the way she spoke about Shanann and the children, absolutely abhorrent, right? So we have this situation now. We have it with the West Boys. We had it with the Chris Watts case. We've got it with Cash Gurn and Summer Wells, and each case has the same thing in common. The same thing. There is a cluster of narcissistic personalities right at the top of all of this drama and histrionics and sensationalism. They're the ones creating it. Every day there has to be something to go live about or make a video about or fucking dissect, but it's nothing of any relevance. And for me, it's about keeping people emotionally hyped up, right? And I want you to think about this seriously, right? Take this seriously. How wired up and emotional do you feel while you're following these live streams and watching these videos constantly, consistently, every single day about these children, right? You will experience a burnout at some period if you haven't already, right? Healthy people aren't constantly having huge emotional reactions up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Oh my God, the case is so bad. Oh my God, what happened? Oh my God, is that what they did? Oh my God, I can't believe it. Oh my God, right? You're hyping yourself up, kickstarting the adrenaline, the cortisol, the stress hormones, and all of that, the endorphins, you get in a rush, right? And at that point is when it becomes dramatic and histrionic and over the top, right? Cases, I believe, right? And these are only my thoughts, my perspective, my opinion. Nobody has to agree. Nobody, you know, you're free to debate in the comments. You're free to disagree. I'll leave your comment there. It's completely fine. Thumbs me up, thumbs me down, either is fine. Just consider subscribing if you would, right? So I'm just going to go through some notes that I made, covering or while I've been thinking about these cases and observing the behaviour and the coverage that they're getting by the people that are covering them, right? So for me, true crime requires sensitivity, ethics, morals, keeping to good morals, right? Keeping a good code of conduct, right? Because if you're going to be dealing with families or you're going to be wanting to ask them questions or get them to talk to you, you want to reassure them and give them some confidence that you are a person that they can trust, right? You aren't going to be trying to emotionally connect with them and have you feel familiar with them so they open up and tell you a whole load of secrets and then you go live and disclose all of it, right? That's not the behaviour should be around these kind of cases. You are damaging real people, causing trouble.
Okay, I want to stop it right there. And I think what she's talking about here is very important. Anyone who is like of my age, I'm going to be 51 tomorrow. So anyone who's of my age can certainly remember a time when tragedies weren't very entertaining. And what I mean by that is that there was a time, and probably even more so for people who are older than me, when the availability of news was so hard to get that they wanted just the facts, okay? We can all recall the old cop shows where it was just the facts, ma'am, just the facts, whatever. But what has happened over time, and it's happened so slowly that maybe some people haven't even noticed, and my pointing it out will maybe trigger something in their memory of a different time. Can you all recall a time when watching the news was one of the most boring things you could do? When reading a newspaper, because when you're printing the news, you really have to think about the space you're taking, okay? TV was not 24 hours a day. TV was from early morning until midnight. That was it. That's all the TV time you had. And you only had so many spaces and so much time on basically 3 channels. Okay, you only had 3 channels to get all the important information that you needed out into the world. You only had so many pages of a newspaper to get the needed information to the people in your town or in your city or in your state or in your country or whatever. And so it was boring, but it was what you needed to know if you wanted to keep up to date on the news. However, I will say that there has always been propaganda in news, and there has always been manipulation in what the people are allowed to know in the news. We know that, but because time, space, channels, and all of that were a finite source of getting information to the public, mostly you just got facts. There wasn't a whole lot of sensationalism. There wasn't a whole lot of personal commentary. There was one tiny little section for an editorial where someone could give you their thoughts or opinions. And that was all you had. Now there are infinite ways of getting information and news to people. And so we can start including sensationalism, drama, all of the things that entertain people, okay? And our news has become a source of entertainment now, a source of bringing a feeling that somehow everything is being done wrong, or everything is, dramatized, sensationalized. It is. And I'm doing a reaction video right now, Conklin. It's good to see you. But yes, news is now entertainment, okay? And people will say, well, I don't find entertainment in seeing people being blown up in the streets. And I don't find, okay, entertainment is probably not the best word to pick for that, but it is entertainment news. It makes you feel the drama, feel the importance, feel all the emotions, like Sonia's talking about here. If you can get people emotional, you can get them to do almost anything. It used to be, and I can remember this, even in like high school and my early days of college and things like that, where if I had an assignment where I needed to watch the news, I felt like that was a punishment. Watching the news was boring. All you were going to get was, the facts, even though they are only the facts that they wanted you to know, and that there was, propaganda and manipulation and all of that. You didn't sit there and not be able to take a bathroom break because you were afraid you were going to miss something. So with the media online now, anyone can participate in the news and participate in the entertainment and participate in the messages we're going to send and get people riled up. And even television is 24 hours a day, 600 and some channels. There is infinite space, and it's been taken advantage of. And, for other means, that would be a wonderful thing. But for the means of tragedy and crime, where we can all reach out to people now, it's easily abused. We see this a lot, and I don't want to get too far off onto this, but we see this a lot with politics now. The most boring thing you could have ever done years and years ago was, follow politics. Now, our politics have turned into entertainment. The drama, the fighting, the lies, the conniving, and it's all there for our public consumption. We can watch it anytime we want to, and we have turned politics into a form of entertainment in our country. And we can clearly see that that is causing disruptions. Hey, Black Cat Lover. Add emotional content with their own reactions that a person can connect with. Exactly, Conklin. Exactly. It was very rare back in the days when there were only 3 television channels. And, only so many papers in circulation, that it was very rare to see Dan Rather or Tom Brokaw, or there was another one. Anyway, become emotional when giving the news. And if they did, they tried to nip it in the bud, because there wasn't time for that type of deep emotion. You would see them choke up a little bit, they'd gain their composure, and they'd go on with the news. Now, we're dedicating full half hour and hour slots to people doing nothing more than giving their personal opinions and showing their emotional opinions of certain stories. It's far different than it used to be. And so it's become a commodity. Entertainment news has become a commodity. You used to have CBS, ABC, and NBC. That was it. And PBS, and they were in competition only with each other. Now we have MSNBC and CNN and Fox News and what's that new one? Max News or Newsmax or something. Everyone has a news show now. And the competition has become so great that being the one that people watch and feeding them emotional, erratic news is a commodity now. And it spreads into YouTube. So I'm going to go back to Sonia now because I've gotten off track enough.
Trauma and upset on top and stress on top of what they're already going through. It's absolutely sick. I don't know how people don't see it. Right, so you want somebody that's got a good code of conduct, right? Somebody that has a good sense of discernment, right? That can discern things rather than judge things, right? Because there's a difference. Judging would be, look at that fat cow over there. Who the fuck does she think she is, right? That would be judging. Discerning would be something like, let me pull something up, right? Because my memory is. Discerning would be, I feel like that person is holding something back. They don't want to talk. I feel like they're a good person, but they're afraid to talk. Something like that, right? Discernment and judging are completely two different things. The cases that I see, each individual member surrounding the family or in the community, even the church involved with Summer Wells, like, it's not discerning anything. They're just judging. They're judging the home life, the way the children were running around, this, whatever, and the other, right? Fair enough, have your opinions, but how is any of that, the dramatics and the emotional upset about the state of the house and how they lived, how is any of that going to help find Summer? Like, I heard Tiffany Marie on a clip I've just uploaded, rocketing the grandmother. What was she rocketing her for? Because she won't speak on social media. And she said, I don't want to get any backlash. And then after that.
Before she goes into that, I want to say that, and I said this actually another time, that, I didn't stop her. I'm sorry. Yes, I did. Okay, sorry. I said before that none of that mattered. Yes, there are certain signs that a child is being abused or is an at-risk child, such as, a home life that is less than nourishing for a child's mind or whatever, a lack of toys, a lack of stimulating activities, a lack of nourishing food, and that's why Children's Services comes in. They look in the refrigerator, they look in the cabinets, they look to see if the child has a place to sleep, they look to see if the child has clothes for the season, that they're not being dressed in summer clothes in the middle of winter, that they have shoes, that they have maybe some toys or books. There are things that, yes, they look for. And there are things that indicate that maybe a child's home life is not what it should be. But none of that was proven, first of all. Yes, the house was untidy and it does not meet everyone's living standards. And by my own standards, I would say that after having truly seen the home, there were some things that probably were not good, okay? But none of that has to do with finding that child now in the moment. And so all that is doing is putting focus on things that in this moment, if you truly want to find the child, do not matter. And so they are for sensationalism, they are for emotion, they are to draw you in to thinking that what you're doing, tearing down this family, is somehow helping, and it's not. okay? You're focusing on the wrong things. But you are drawing your audience in by describing in great detail the state of the house, or, the haircut, which was so much attention was given to the haircut, okay? The only reason you need to know anything about her haircut in this moment is so that if you're out there looking for her, this is what you're going to look for. Otherwise, the haircut really has nothing to do with finding her in this moment. So to focus on that is simply for sensationalism, to bring attention to what you're saying, what you're doing, to get people to listen to you, all of that. An untidy house with kids is called lived in. I don't understand strangers having the audacity to say the parents don't care about their child for not going on their channel. I agree, Callie. Because when you think about it, like I said, a parent would do anything to feel like they're doing something instead of nothing. But if a parent is capable of thinking outside of emotion, which is what Sonia is talking about here, and to think in healthy terms, which most of us would not be able to do in this instance. Anyone who reached out a hand to help, we would probably accept their hand. But someone who is capable of thinking without so much emotion, to think logically in the moment, would stay the hell away from all of these people on the internet who want nothing more than to be the first one to get a scoop to bring attention to their YouTube channel. Hey, Ritas, good to see you. Hi, Michelle. All right, so I am going to go back to this because Sonia covers it very well here.
She's spoken to somebody privately in DMs, and that person with a channel, right, released the DMs, stirred up a whole load more of emotional drama. So can you see the pattern? Everything's about stimulating the audience's emotional feelings, right? They're not displaying facts and keeping it straight and on point. It's all about huge emotional overreactions to everything. It's not healthy. And when you've got behaviors like this showing up, guaranteed there's toxicity involved. There is narcissism involved. It's narcissistic behavior. All this constant dramatics is narcissistic behavior. It isn't somebody balanced. It isn't somebody well put together, patient, somebody that follows ethics and morals and has a good sense or a good idea of what is right or wrong. Because in these cases, the line is overstepped every single time. The way that they harass and re-traumatize the families involved with these children, either murdered tragically or they're still missing. There was again with Xavier Harrelson, the way that the Life Perplexed was talking about his mum and threatening to show up to have a fight or whatever it was, saying negative stuff about her. Like they're not keeping to the facts. They're sensationalizing behaviors, right? Feeding off it all, right? Like emotional vampires. It's constant emotional drama stirred up to keep people sucked in. And the problem is when somebody keeps stimulating our emotions in that way.
See you
right,
soon, Ritas. Good luck with your move.
It resyncs our brain chemistry to match.
I am so sorry I keep coughing over Sonia.
So, like with an abusive partner,
coffee. I have a tickle in my throat.
They will supply you with a whole load of attention to stimulate your emotions, right?
Hi, Donna.
And get you hyped up, love bombed, and idealized, and you're walking on cloud nine. And then suddenly they will take all that emotion away. They will withhold it. They will give you the cold shoulder, the silent treatment, the stonewalling answers, right? And you'll be upset, wondering what you did wrong.
So much.
Because they've just removed that emotion. So on top of the confusion and the ruminating that it triggers in the mind, right?
Luke says hi, by the way.
It begins an addiction, a trauma bond to this toxic person. So when after they go for their 2 or 3 weeks of ignoring you, when they come back and you make up and the love bombing starts again, the nice words, right? The kind deeds that they may do for you, all the affection and all the love that they start to display again, right? Your brain starts getting the rushes again of dopamine, oxytocin, and all the feel-good hormones. And then the narcissist or the abuser or the toxic person that
Actually, I want to stop right there, Donna, because that's something I meant to say when I was talking about the news and politics and everything. And this goes for this drama crama stuff. She's exactly right that when you're watching all this stuff, I'll tell him you said so, Ritas. When you're watching all this drama, crama, trauma stuff, you are essentially rewiring your brain. We have chemical reactions with our emotions and with our thought processes and everything. And so when we watch this stuff that overstimulates our brain, and like I said, news is available now 24 hours around the clock. So is YouTube with drama and all of that and the true crime. You can, even if someone's not live, you can go back and watch live streams, and you're always going to be stimulating the production and the receptors and everything of these chemicals that's going on in your brain. What I would suggest for anyone who feels like this may be part of some sort of bad health, like headaches, like anxiety, a good thing to try and experiment is to take 7 days and not watch a single thing of this sort on YouTube, or turn off your TV. Don't listen to any news for 7 or 10 days, longer if you can. A month is ideal. What has been realized is that it takes about 30 days to make something a habit. So if you can go 30 days without watching any of this drama or any of this kind of stuff on YouTube and cutting yourself off from news for 30 days, you will see a difference in your mindset, in your anxiety levels, in your depression levels, in your forgetfulness, because stress and stress hormones are notorious for causing us difficulties in organizing our thoughts, difficulties in our memories, difficulties in so many ways, but also physically, not just in our minds. Less headaches, less body aches, less sleeplessness. And we can prove these things to ourselves by taking, like I said, agree to yourself for 7 days. Okay. Now, if you commit for 7 days, but if you can go 30 days without inflicting these stressful situations, even if you're not involved in them, just listening to them triggers stress hormones. And I can tell you that when I stayed away for 30 days and I came back, even though the talk was not about me anymore, when I would hear certain voices, I could feel my anxiety and my stress rising, my heart rate rising, my blood pressure rising, my stomach starting to get in that knot. I avoid those voices at all costs now because I know those people are nothing but toxic to me. And although I am not magically cured of my anxiety or of bipolar disorder or PTSD or any of that, I am doing myself the biggest favor I can by not allowing the additional stress of YouTube or real life. Even in real life, I've had to cut things out of my life that were bringing me nothing but anxiety and stress. There are some things you can't cut out in your life, like if you have children who cause you stress, if you have, and I'm talking about children, not adult children, because sometimes it's necessary to cut adult people out of your life. I have had an intense headache with all this summer stuff. It's meant to cause an emotional response. I'm going to go, and so Good for you, Tibori. Good for you. The fact that you're willing, to commit to 7 days is wonderful. Like I said, if you can, after the 7 days, if you can continue to commit and do it for 30, you will find such a difference in your thought processes, in your memory abilities. The wonderful thing that I found, and I still lose words when I'm speaking, okay? But, that has a lot to do with medications and stuff like that. But what I have found is that my vocabulary has been coming back to me, which is so wonderful because I've always loved having a large vocabulary, having a plethora of words at my disposal that I can pick from to better communicate exactly what it is that I'm thinking or feeling. And with all this stress, I started, using very basic words and never feeling like what I was saying was truly conveying what I mean. And I have found that my vocabulary is coming back to me. I love it. It makes me feel better. It makes me feel like at any time that I need to let someone know what I think or what I feel, I can do so more precisely. It feels wonderful. And that may not be important to most people, but to me, feeling like I'm speaking or communicating clearly, that helps me feel better. To think that people can understand me and what I'm trying to say. I don't like feeling like I'm never quite catching what I want to say. So I think it's great. 30 days. Right, Tibori. It's, it kind of dumbs us down. It really does. And then when you add all the stress on there, the stress, and even like I said, even if you're not involved in it, okay, because for so long, I thought that if I sat back and the drama wasn't about me, I was just watching it. I didn't have a horse in the race, so I didn't care. There are still emotional responses that happen automatically inside our brains and inside our bodies when we hear that level of emotion being reached, especially if you're an empathetic person, and I am. And I've had to try to put more boundaries, as Sonia's talking about here, in place, that I can't let myself just be sucked in by emotion because it elicits empathy in me. I have to learn how to control my emotional responses, even when I feel great empathy for someone. And that's my responsibility. It's not someone else's. I've been putting it in other people's hands to ride me on their roller coaster of emotions. And what it turns out is that a lot of times the emotions they're conveying aren't even legitimate on their end. It's something that they are doing to manipulate, to control, to get interest in, to get following, to get attention to themselves. And yet I am going on this ride and I have, I've given them the control, and we all need to take that control back. We can feel empathy for other people without going off the rails when they put us on their roller coaster ride. So back to Sonia. I get off topic so easily, and because, I like to get my thoughts out. Tibori, I don't know what's going on with your daughter, but whatever it is, I hope your daughter is doing well as well. Well, you're welcome, T. It's so great to see you in here. It's great to see all of you in here.
Again, they will withhold that emotion, right? And over a period of time, that pattern syncs your brain chemistry with theirs, right? Because they're constantly giving the emotion and then pulling it away. So when they're away and they've gone dark and you can't get hold of them, they're ignoring you, ghosting you, blanking you, right? You become low because your mind, right, is now dependent on feeling lifted and good on that person love bombing you, right?
Oh, I'm glad she's doing well then.
It's like the same kind of, in a different way, it's like the same kind of science taking place. They're emotionally drawing people and attaching them to the case and keeping them, right, which then keeps them almost addicted to keep coming back, to revisit the hype, the histrionics, what's happened, oh my God, and all the overreactions, right? They come back and they're doing the same thing. And then when they're away, right, on their own,
I agree, Tibor. More people do.
They will experience a burnout at some point. You cannot keep entertaining or visiting these types of streams, in my humble opinion, and being hyped up out of your mind.
I also want to remind anyone who's come in that Sonia's link is in my description. About this child, right? We can still care about she is a good person to listen to if you're interested in learning, right? And sensible. There's no sensibleness in any of this case. It's constantly to working people up, right, with the titles, right? This happened today with Summer Wells. This happened today with Cash Gurning. Come and see, must see interview. Family member speaks. Where is Don? Right? All this is all to stir people up with the title, so that you go right. You hit the button. You need to see it now. What's happened now? Right? And it becomes right. I call it the trauma bonds of YouTube, and the drama community works in the same way. And this drama that I've been observing, I believe works in the same way as well, right? The histrionics, the dramatics, the over emotional responses are toxic for the audience, being sucked in and believing that we're all here together because we care about a missing child. No, you're not all there together because you care about a missing child. You're all there together because you're all feeding off each other, hyping each other up, right? It's like you're all filling up off each other's reactions and emotions. Watching it from a distance, in my humble opinion, it is toxic as hell. Toxic as hell. It is full of people pleaser types, codependent types, right? That don't see or have any idea about emotional manipulation and fuckery. And then you've got another part of it, where it's just toxic, narcissistic people needing the attention and using and exploiting child murder or cases of children going missing to get that attention. That's what it's about. Pulling people in and keeping them emotionally invested. Tibor, try to have a good, so they keep relaxing weekend.
And then they tell other people and they keep coming back. It is toxic as hell.
If you can stop in tomorrow night, Tibor, at 8 Central, I'm going to do a birthday stream for myself, and we're going to play some games.
So again,
so if you can stop in, please do.
Right, with a good sense of discernment and someone
but have a great
healthy boundaries. Boundaries are important. All of this case is boundaryless, and that is demonstrated by the dropping of DMs, right? The things that are talked about, some of the discussions that are going on about things that aren't anything to do with Summer Wells. The humiliating and shaming the family members, for example, calling them out, having a go at them shamelessly because they don't want to come on social media. If you looked at your behaviour, you'd probably see why they don't want to come on social media. I certainly wouldn't go to any of those lot if I had a missing child. I would not go to those lot. You do not need those lot to put the word out. The only thing they're about is investigating and dissecting tiny little details to keep people emotionally invested and following this case along.
Okay, so I want to stop it there because it triggers another thought in my brain here. I think the proof of what she's saying here, and that they really have no interest in what they're talking about outside of, the emotional responses and all of that. If you're going to sit and for hours on end discuss, hey, Beryl, it's good to see you. I came across an interesting video the other day. Separating your mind from racing thoughts causing anxiety. Phil, I love that. Trixie, yes, stepping away is often a good idea. And I was saying, try to commit to like 7 days. But if you can do 30 days away from watching anything having to do with any kind of drama or true crime or any of this toxic stuff, you'll find that you feel way better. Another thing you'll find is that when you go back and try to watch it, you will not have interest in it. But my point is that if we're going to sit there and we're going to say how terrible these people are, and we're going to bring up past domestic violence and who's done what to who, and how how filthy their houses are and all that. You're just complaining about these things that have nothing to do with finding the child. But what are you doing about the things you're complaining about? And I've said this before. We all have sets of skills that we can use to be helpful. Some of us are great socializers. I'm not one of them. I'm not one of those people that you can put in a room full of many people and I can go around and do what needs to be done, talking to different people and setting things up. I'm not that person. Some of us are organizers. I'm not going to be that person either. I don't know what my set of skills is yet. Some of us have financial connections. That's not going to be me either. When I figure out my set of skills, I will let you all know. But I see people on this platform on YouTube who definitely have certain sets of skills that they could use to be helpful. So you really can't go out and find summer wells on your own. But you're sitting here complaining that, her mother does drugs or her mother drinks or the house is a wreck and how could the kids be living this way and all of these things. What can you do to affect that? Because we know that these are things that happen to children who often end up being abused or being victimized in some way. Because we know that these are not ideal circumstances for parents to find themselves in, such as domestic violence or whatever, if they want to care for their kids well and make it less likely that their kids will become victimized or underdeveloped in some way. What can you do about it? And I'm going to just use examples here. Molly, okay? We've heard Molly talk about the deplorable conditions these kids were living in. And I'm not suggesting just throwing money into a GoFundMe for the family. A lot of times people think that when you just throw money at something, it makes it better. It doesn't. Because you've still got traumatized people living in domestic violence situations with alcohol or drug problems who have lived their entire lives in these ways. So instead of throwing money at these people and just expecting them to fix everything themselves, what can you do with your social acumen or your financial connections or whatever? You can educate. You can help programs that help people to see the signs of domestic violence and make it easier for them to make their leave of these relationships. You can look into educating children in poorer communities, in more rural areas, to give people the tools that they need to live better lives. But sitting back and just bitching about it and humiliating people about the conditions they live in just because they aren't up to your standards of the conditions that you live in does nothing. It does nothing but take away dignity from people who are doing their best to get through the lives that they have been dealt. Okay? And yes, I know that choices are important, but we all make poor choices. Some of us don't make choices about what families we're born into. We don't get to make choices about that. And so if our families are already working at a level that is not ideal, with unhealthy behaviors and having been raised by people who also had unhealthy behaviors, we're not given the choice of that, okay? And so that becomes our normal. And yes, we see other people living differently when we're not living in a great way. And we would like that, but we don't have a map drawn for us to get out of this situation. So instead of humiliating people about their living conditions, which have nothing to do with finding their daughter, or instead of saying, they don't have teeth or whatever, which has nothing to do, or talking about their drug addiction or their alcohol consumption, which, yes, does raise the risk that their child will become a victim of many different things. What can you do to change that other than sit on the internet and point out every single flaw these people have? A floor potato. So yeah, you know, what good are you doing by just pointing out all the things that take away dignity from these people? None. So it's got to be just for entertainment, just for the attention that it brings you, just for the money or the super chats that it brings you, because you're not doing anything except pointing it out over and over and over.
And have them believe as though they're doing something worthwhile. Nobody's doing anything worthwhile. All they are doing is hurting people, right? Re-traumatizing people. Fair enough, you can have suspicion that certain people were involved or family members were involved. Is it necessary, though, to keep sensationalizing it day after day after day, keeping people hyped up, over talking about it, going back over details that have already been gone over, re-dissecting things, just keeping people churned up and emotionally attached to the case? That's what it is, in my humble opinion. And again, you want somebody with good self-control. The people that I've seen Tiffany Marie screaming and shouting, and MGL and the way that she's treated families, the things that she said about families, right? There is no self-control. These people do not have self-control at all, none of it. Where do you see genuine humility, patience, or balance, right? Nowhere. They sensationalize things, right? They harass Cash Gernon's grandma. They harass Summer Wells' grandparent. They've harassed her, talking about her, humiliating her, coming out with all kinds of stuff. And it's all okay. It's all okay because there's a child missing. We can do what the fuck we like to these family members because at the end of the day, there's a child missing. And in our minds, in our screwed up minds, to us, this is us helping recover this child, right? This is us helping recover this child. If anything, if somebody had that child, if somebody has that child, and they're
Trixie, the link should be in my description.
Media, right?
I can put it in the chat though again too.
Is a giant kick and throw of the chaos and
that should be the link there, Trixie.
By taking that child. That's all.
Hi, Gypsy, good to see you. Thank you.
Her, who's taken her will get from watching this case and observing how it's being covered. Who were fueling a narcissistic, abusive piece of shit, because that's clearly what they are, whoever's taken her, right? I don't believe they've taken her for good, right? Because you take the boys as well. You took the girl, singled the girl out, right? A narcissistic, abusive psychopath. And he or she will be having the biggest thrill of their life watching this blow up, right? The same way I know Chris Watts will be having the same kind of thrill. They'll love it. They'll love it. Nobody can stop talking about it. And it's all because of that person. All you're doing is fueling that person, whoever they are, right? And I bet they feel amazing. Absolutely amazing. Because just by taking this child, they managed to stir up and keep all this fuckery and drama going. It's sick. Absolutely sick. They're not help. That is, none of this is helping the case. All it is feeding the abusive piece of shit that has taken her. That's all it's doing.
I do too, Amber. I learn so much when I listen to her. And when I don't learn,
it's a sensitive topic.
I'm still reminded of things that I already knew that I need to remember.
I consider myself like a codependent in recovery. Us type of people, we feel first instead of think first, right? So if you look at some of the people that are following this case or covering it, they are very emotional first rather than thinking. It's huge emotional reactions to everything. Where do you see a balanced conversation, talking calmly and covering it in a balanced fashion? Where? If it's not screaming and shouting, it's humiliating, taunting and embarrassing, mocking, mimicking, ridiculing family members. That isn't helping any case find. It's not helping to find somewhere. If anything, you would be hurting that girl the way that you're destroying her family and attacking them. and doing all the things that you're doing, dropping their DMs and humiliating them. If she was to come back, God willing, right? You've destroyed a family.
Thank you, Amber.
Really
I am doing
that she's going to look
I
back
hope
on this
you
or
are too.
something and think, oh, wow, those people really tried to help. You're delusional, absolutely delusional. It is an absolute cluster of toxicity and narcissistic behavior, in my opinion. This is not me calling or diagnosing narcissists, right? Narcissistic behavior is clear, so is healthy behavior, right? We all know that healthy behavior is calm, balance, there's humility, right? There's self-acceptance. Typically, we're peaceful people, right? Where do you see peaceful, humility, self-control in this case? Where everybody is about overreactions and over-dramatizing absolutely everything.
And again, you know, the over-dramatization and all of that, what does that buy? That buys an audience.
Okay, because at the end of the day,
buys money, super chats,
so that
PayPal, whatever.
Behavior, excuses the way we treat people or speak to the family members. None of it matters, because in our minds, at the end of the day, it's about finding someone else. Delusional. I remember with the Cash Gurnan one, actually, right? MGL and Tiffany Marie, they were saying, oh, we haven't slept for 12 days. We've been on this for 12 days. I'm so knackered. We haven't slept, blah, blah, blah. And I just remember thinking, clearly you don't keep boundaries then. You get attached and addicted to something, right, that's caught your interest, and you can't let it go. You fixate on it.
And I think this is important. I'm going to stop it right there for just a second. You know, she's saying that people are saying that they haven't slept for 12 days over this. To have difficulty sleeping when there's something that is really bothering you is a normal thing. However, if you haven't slept in 12 days because of something that is happening that has nothing to do with you, she is exactly right. You are being unhealthy, and you need to step back. Because I would assume, if, you know, I don't know for sure who these people are who didn't sleep for 12 days. But if they're who I think they were, they have children of their own. And if you haven't slept for 12 days, how well are you caring for your own children? And I don't say that as an accusation to say that you're a bad parent or whatever. Any of the things that anyone could read into what I've just said. What I'm saying is, as a healthy human being, if you are losing sleep over something like this, where you have not so much as met a single person involved. Now, if this is your best friend whose child is missing, I can understand, and I think it would be normal to say that over the past 12 days, you have lost a lot of sleep, okay? If this was your child, it would not surprise me a bit if you haven't slept a wink in 12 days. If this was your cousin's child who lives, you know, across the country, yes, I can understand some sleepless nights. But we are talking about people who have never laid eyes on this child in their life until she was abducted. Or until she came up missing, I should say. So, how are you losing 12 days worth of sleep over this? If you are an investigator in the case, right there on the ground, following trails, following leads, yes, you're losing sleep over this. You are, because it's your job. But if you are an anonymous person on the internet and you have lost 12 days of sleep, I would ask why you aren't taking care of yourself enough, guarding yourself enough, protecting your health enough that you have not slept in 12 days and you have children of your own. That is not healthy. It's not healthy for you, and it's not healthy for your children. It's not healthy for your life. It's not healthy for your spouse. It's not healthy for your job. It's not healthy for many reasons. The first being that if you are so wrapped up in this that you think not sleeping for 12 days makes you a devoted or good person, you clearly have misconstrued what it means to be a good person, because you would not let that happen. You would say, I need to step away from this because I am clearly not in a place that I can be healthy about this. You would go speak to your doctor if you have not slept for 12 days. Okay, and I know that they probably don't mean they have not slept at all for 12 days, because that's almost humanly impossible. They would be hallucinating. They would be, it would just be a really bad scene, okay? A human being cannot go that long without any sleep. In fact, you would be sleeping and not even know it at 12 days. You would be falling asleep and not even be aware that you were falling asleep in dangerous situations. What would you do as a parent if you were doing that and you're in a home with your own child, yet this is what let me just say that it has to be an exaggeration, okay? They did sleep in those 12 days. So what is the purpose of making it known to their viewers that this is affecting them in that way? It's to draw them in emotionally, whether that's for views, whether that's for attention, whether that's for self-importance, adoration, I don't know. But it is a dramatization meant to make you feel, oh my gosh, look how good these people are. They have not slept in 12 days. No, that is not a good person, first of all. If that, in fact, is what's happening, that's a very unhealthy person who is now putting their own children in jeopardy. So yeah, that is not good. And we need, and I'm going to talk about this some other time too, we need to address the fallacies of how a good and healthy person behaves, because you can care about people without sacrificing your sleep for them, without sacrificing your health for them. And we give so many of these terms to people, like someone is so selfish, selfless, like that mother, my mother always let us eat first, and if there was nothing left, she did without. Well, first of all, while that sounds wonderful because a mother would do anything for her children, why is that mother being put in the situation to do it? And this is a whole other topic. And the mother then is making choices that put her in a position where she can't truly be at her best to take care of her children. Anyway, we'll have that stream some other time. But, we talk about people who are such hard workers and never missed a day of work. Even when he was sick, he went in. And we give that the significance of making him just such a good person. No, that is an unhealthy person. Healthy people, when they are sick, do not go to work because they have to take care of themselves. Because without taking care of themselves, they can't take care of their families. They can't take care of their lives. And so we say, my father died at 56. He never missed a day of work in his life, even when he was sick. And everyone thinks, oh my gosh, and they read it at the funeral in the eulogy, he gave up his entire life to provide for us. That's why he died at 56. He was not healthy. Healthy people will die, or unhealthy people will die young. And it is not something that anyway, let's just go on, because I am way off topic here again.
You over fixate on it and become over emotionally invested in it to the point that it starts to take over your real life and affects your sleeping pattern. Does that demonstrate to anybody somebody that can keep boundaries, right? If you can't keep healthy boundaries covering a case of a missing child or a murdered child, should you be on the case? Not in my opinion, you shouldn't. And I don't care how many subscribers or how many viewers, right, watch her and think she's doing a good thing. Me over here on my tiny channel, this is just my tiny opinion. This is how I see it. It's my perception. I have watched it for long enough, right? And now I need to say something about it. And I am doing. It's as simple as that. It's not about hating her, disliking her, being jealous of her or anything like that. I personally find it disgusting. And if I, God forbid, ever had something happen to a family member where I needed to use social media to get the word out, those types of people would be off my list. The way that MGL has disgraced the grandmother of Cash Gernan and the things that she has said, she was calling her live in front of hundreds of people on her channel, right? Leaving voicemail after voicemail, going on and on and on at her, right? Now, there's a clear example of somebody that can't keep boundaries, right? You're going through to answer machine, they're not responding to you, they don't want to talk to you, and rather than just leave it alone and think, you know what, I'm just going to start to get them talking to me, right? No, we have to start leaving messages, more than one. We have to keep ringing and ringing and ringing somebody. How does that demonstrate somebody to you with healthy boundaries anywhere to keep calling someone? How is that showing healthy boundaries or self-control? Or somebody that's got emotional boundaries that can keep themselves in check, right? No, there has to be the grandstanding and the posturing. We're trying to help these children and look at how we're treated. All of that. It's a delusion, an absolute delusion. They worked on it 12 days. Worked on it doing what? More like you were absorbed in it and you wanted to follow every tiny detail about it, right? That's on you. But that shows that you don't keep healthy boundaries, period, right? That because you put 12 days into it, that doesn't mean that you know, it's always like there's an overstatement. I have to grandstand about how much I care about this child. I care about this missing child more than anybody else. I care what happens to that that murdered child's brother more than anybody else, right? I care more than anybody else. It's me that cares most about Summer Wells. It's me, right? Again, with the emotional boundaries. There's no emotional distance, right? I don't care what child goes missing. I feel a pull, right? And I am emotionally concerned, right? But I can keep boundaries. I can keep healthy boundaries that will stop me getting too invested, right? To the point that I'm acting dramatic, histrionic, and being aggressive and rude, screaming and shouting, calling people out because they share a different opinion, right? I can keep myself in check, right? These people that are covering these cases, Summer Wells and Cash Gernan, right? Where is the self-control? I can't believe that people think that this type of behavior, and this is my thing again with social media and narcissism, right? Social media fuels narcissistic behavior. It encourages it. You have got a lot of good people over there following this case.
I want to stop there and say that I so agree with that statement. Social media does fuel narcissism. It also, fuels a way for people to reach out and connect with people that they wouldn't normally get to do so with. If social media or the internet were used for the purposes of reaching out to other people who you normally would not have, be able to have a conversation with or be able to connect with or share your hobbies and your skills or whatever, social media and the internet are a wonderful place for that type of thing. However, it's been ran over or overrun so much by people who want their 15 minutes of fame. And they don't care if they get it for doing good or for doing bad. Everyone can be a celebrity on the internet. You just have to find the right thing to do. Whether that is harassing people, trolling people, arguing with people, to most people it doesn't matter. Then there are other people on here, like I said, who want to share information, who want to educate or be educated, who want to learn about things they don't know about, skills they don't have yet, like knitting or crocheting or painting or putting a piece of furniture together from other people who've been there and done it. cooking something. Or there are people who want to come on here and just have fun with people that in their normal lives they wouldn't get to come across. I will never get to play Name That Tune with someone in Norway if it is not for the internet. Okay? It brings people together, but people have found a way to also use it for, devious means. And that is a playground for narcissism. It's also a playground for sociopaths and psychopaths and people who would seek out and prey on vulnerable populations of people. Unfortunately, it seems that we can't have one side of the internet without the other because laws and filters and things like that are not in place to keep all people from gathering in the same place. I could only want people in this stream who are interested in what I'm talking about. But the truth of the matter is, really, I have no way of keeping people from listening or viewing and gathering data or information to be used to troll or to harm or whatever. And that's why we have to find ourselves ways of remaining as safe as possible on the internet. But there will always be someone who is looking for attention or fame or notice them or financial gain or whatever, who is going to be on social media and on the internet using it for means that are undesirable to others of us. We can't help that. And so, again, as usual, Sonia is right about this.
Thanks, right? I'm sure of that, right? But they don't see in front of them the narcissistic behavior that's being displayed. Instead, they believe that rather than observing the behavior and seeing how things are, because words and behavior should match, right? So if somebody's saying, I really care about this child, I really care about this child, and then they're destroying a family member or belittling them and ridiculing them because they choose not to talk on social media, anyone can see, I don't blame them for not wanting to go down that path the way that they've done, right? Examining every post and all the rest of it, right? Where's the balance? Where does she show the balance with that grandparent to just be, do you know what? I understand that they probably don't want to speak. This has got kind of out of control, all the fuss and attention and how many people are following it and how many videos are made every single day. Fair enough. The shitty things that have happened to other family members or other people that have been said when they've come out and tried to speak to social media or give an interview, the things that have happened, I can objectively understand why this person doesn't want to talk on social media. Not Tiffany Marie, no. She's not happy because the person won't do what she wants them to do. She is that consumed with this case. She believes in her mind that all the way over there in a different state to where this is going on, she is going to solve this case because she is the person that loves this child more than anybody else. And if that is not a screaming red flag to anybody, I don't know what is. Every single one of us feel and have probably prayed, I know I have, that this child is found, right? There's loads of people following it, wanting to, hoping every single day that there's going to be a video or a press release from the police saying, we figured out what happened, we found her, right? Dead or alive, we found her. That's all we all want, right? But where is the self-control, again, and the self-discipline? And the self-introspection to be able to see, do you know what I'm doing is not all right. The way I'm treating people that are going through a trauma, right? And this trauma,
and the respect for other people's boundaries. If they don't have their own boundaries,
I'm not just specifically talking about someone else.
They still aren't respecting other people who do have boundaries.
This trauma will stay with them for the rest of their life. And you do have to be open to the idea that somebody can look 100% guilty and be innocent. You could have done something and been somewhere at the wrong time and it looked like you did whatever that crime was. You have to be open to the idea that you're wrong, your discernment is wrong, right? You have to be open to that. You can't keep just going at people and nailing and harassing them and accusing them and saying, you've got some involvement with this child's disappearance, I know it. It's not like they're just saying it to a friend, right? Or just saying it in a comment section. There's something shifty about this case. I wonder about the mum or I wonder about the dad, right? They have absolutely dehumanized these parents, right? And scrutinized. They've scrutinized them down to the toenails. It's disgusting to me. To me, it is. So again, there's no emotional boundaries. It's all about over emotional reactions. I love Summer Wells the most. I'm the one most consumed with this case and the one most obsessed with finding her. I care about her more. It's me that cares about her more. Look, I'm showing you by how many videos and how much I'm talking about it. There's an overstatement there to present the...
Donna, that is a great point. And I'll just, expound on that a little bit. That, law enforcement and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation or any of the FBI or anyone involved in this, they have been trained for this, okay? And they have been taught how to keep their distance when investigating, to not be drawn in emotionally. I mean, they've been trained, they've practiced it, they've got experience in it, all of that. And for anyone on the internet to think that they're going to step in and be the one who breaks the case, okay, the one who gets that secret bit of information, there is always a possibility that that could happen, but the possibility is extremely low. These are professionals who are on the ground amongst the people. They've been trained for this. They have labs they can use. They have, all sorts of resources at their command. For anyone on the internet to think that they are going to be the one who gets all of this solved and cleared up and just, it's just delusional. It really is. Now, when the professionals ask for help, like when they said, we're looking for anyone who has information on a red truck, like they did, help them. If you saw a red truck in that area, that's what they're looking for. Help them out. But you don't go out and start looking for the red truck yourself, because if the truck exists, they probably already know about it. They are well known for knowing things and putting it out there to the public for a very specific reason, because it flushes out people that they need to be flushed out. It brings them out of the woodwork. It garners their attention, whatever. There are things they want the people who did this to know, and things they don't want the people who did this to know that they know. There are reasons for all of these things, and for anyone who is just, Miss So-and-so sitting at her desk or her kitchen table or, on her cell phone or whatever, thinking she's going to solve the case. It's delusional, and it can impede the process of the true investigation. You're getting people involved who are muddying the waters. You're calling family members who, are going to become less trustworthy as they go through this process, because they're being portrayed as being horrible people. They're drawing out their pasts and things that they may have laid to rest years ago. They're drawing those out. Why would they start giving information to people they will not trust? Yes, it drives the internet detective mad. If there is an officer, judge, etc., related in any way to the family missing person, they are excused from the case. Right, Nocturnal, exactly. No emotional involvement. And if you get too emotionally involved, you will be removed. That's like thinking John, your plumber, has discovered that ivermectin has been overlooked by doctors. Oh, Conklin. Yeah, I mean, we can all do our research online, but there are people who are specifically trained for this. And that doesn't mean we don't have to be smart or that we can't be suspicious, because it's well known that information is withheld from us. Information is withheld from us, and other information is fed to us. And so, yeah, be smart, but also be logical. And there are often reasons why John Q. Public isn't given the the information that can solve something. And sometimes it's for our own good. Sometimes it's because they need people to believe that, so that the person who's in trouble or who did this will come out of the woodwork. There are many things going on that if you've not been taught or educated and trained in, you're not going to understand them. And what you're going to do is actually ruin a method that's known for garnering results.
The idea of how much I care, right? It isn't real. These aren't the behaviors, in my humble opinion, of a healthy human being. I don't find this healthy human behavior at all. It is toxic. It is narcissistic. It's disgusting. They are absolute strangers to these children, right? We all are. We are strangers to these children, okay? There should be some sort of emotional detachment, right? That would be healthy for us, all of us, keeping healthy emotional detachment.
Right.
I mean, that's what we do in day-to-day life. We keep some emotional detachment, right? You let go of that emotional detachment, and this is what happens. The dramatics, the histrionics, the over-sensationalizing things, the overreactions, the over-emotions, right? I've got to be the one that parades how much I love this child and care about finding this child the most. It's absolutely, it's like school kids covering it or something. It's insanity, absolute insanity. And I believe right at the top, right, because where healthy people are that communicate clearly and that can communicate in a healthy way, right, there isn't drama, histrionics, and fuckery. It doesn't exist. It's very slight that it shows up, and with clear communication, it can often be cleared up, right? Every single day with this, there is miscommunication, right? Histrionics and dramatics every single day. Do you know why? Because there's narcissistic people. It's narcissistic and toxic people that have all these kinds of behaviors. It isn't the behavior of healthy human beings, period. You keep some emotional detachment, right? You keep some emotional grounding. You keep yourself grounded. You keep your emotions in check. You remain healthy. You're balanced. There's self-discipline, right? Where is it? Where is it? Where's the humility? Where is the humility while you are dealing with child murder, murder in general, and missing children? Where? It's like it's become a competition of who cares most about someone else. Well, again, there's the narcissism, right? There's the narcissism. It has to be me that looks like I care the most about this missing child. It's like a
exactly, and I see that so much.
The next thing.
Let me just stop this real quick. But I see that so much. Who cares the most? Who, a competition about who's doing the best job, who cares the most. And this even shows itself in the fact that other people, that the people involved in the true crime thing often dispute who's allowed to cover what, okay? They'll say that, so-and-so shouldn't be covering it because I was covering it first. Here's the thing. No one owns these missing children cases, all right? A child is missing. Why are you squabbling about who was covering it first? If your true intent is to find this child and help get the information out there that is true and vetted and fact, then why would you care if someone else was doing that as well? Because if your intention is to find this child, if that's the only reason you're doing this, then like you would hope that other people are trying to bring awareness to it as well and pass on the facts and the goings-on of the case. But because it becomes a squabble that so-and-so is already covering this one, why are you covering it? You do not own cases of missing children, okay? And so if you're trying to get your audience to believe that your intentions are good and that you are trying to bring, the attention that this case needs so that the people can get the information and know that it's going on and show their support to law enforcement and help in any way they can, you would not impede someone else from doing the exact same thing. So by showing that you're trying to impede other people pursuing the information getting out there for people so that more attention can be brought to this and more people can be keeping their eyes open and looking for this little girl. Why are you trying to stop people from doing that because you are doing it first? Right there is an incredulous indicator that your reasons for doing this are not pure. Okay? You don't want competition. Missing children are not competition, and you wouldn't treat it as such. So, back to Sonia here.
Us and talk about that in some way is going to help us find someone. Insane. Empaths and codependent type people are like uneducated empaths, right? That aren't educated in dark psychology and manipulation, right? And toxic and narcissistic behavior. And codependent types, people pleasers, fixers, right? Those that want to help everybody. They are easily fooled by words. They don't often check that actions match the words, right? They're fooled by words often. And I know because this used to, I'm describing the old me. They're easily fooled by words like this when emotional types of conversation, constant emotional types of conversation should be your red flag. If every time you're going into a stream and it's about hyping people up and getting people upset, it's not just balanced and talking to you and telling you where we are today, you know, day 79 or whatever, this is what we're up to, right? Your red flag should be every single time you go to this chat, it has you hyped up or feeling a certain way, like hyper angry, right? Really annoyed with something, right? Really over upset, over frustrated, just over emotional, right? Where you're just like, I can't cope listening to this anymore because I've got trauma in my real life and this is affecting me, it's disturbing me. When you feel those types of things, that's when you need to get a boundary. They are the times to leave, right? Because it's becoming too much. That's healthy, right? To be able to recognize that and do something about it for yourself, right? And admit it to yourself, this is too much for me. It's not doing me any good, and move yourself away from it. That is someone with a good sense of self-awareness. They can recognize that what they're listening to or what they're watching is irking them up so much, right? Really affecting them. They're not keeping good emotional detachment, so they leave instead, right? Because all this emotional up and down, angry, upset, all that does is fuck with your nervous system like you wouldn't believe. You will feel the effects of it. And people that I've observed following this case, the people that aren't narcissistic and toxic, cluster B types, the people that aren't like that, they will suffer burnout. The narcissistic types will be able to keep going day after day after day because they feed off it. They're emotional vampires. They want everybody hyped up, right? They need that to live off. It fuels them, it feeds them, right? It gives them a life, it makes them feel amazing, okay? Hence their lives every single day, okay? They're getting the fix, if you will. That's literally what it's like. They feed off all everybody's over emotions, writing in the chat, oh my God, I can't believe it. What have you heard today? Did you hear something today? What were they saying about this part of the thing? Did you find out about that? I can't believe she's still missing, right? The person at the top of that live stream feeding off all of it. Nobody healthy is going through these cases at the rate they are emotionally and not suffering or feeling the effects and having some emotional burnout. I don't believe it. Right, last part. So they keep emotion running throughout the entire case. It's constantly playing on your emotions. Whereas if you go to other channels, like Miss Harlow, it's calm, right? It's tempered, it's balanced, it's disciplined. There's no over emotion. She explains it clearly. She gives you the facts, right? There's no insane dissecting of milk jugs. She gives you the facts, right? It's calm. You can listen to it, right, as you go about your business. Whereas when you're listening to these streams covering these cases, like they were for Cash German, and the same again for Summer Wells, and even the West Boys, and even in the Chris Watts case, if you check into a few of the channels covering Chris Watts, it's the same. It's about keeping you emotionally connected throughout the whole stream. It's so toxic, right? It is toxic because they're generating your emotions, and like I've tried to explain it, we shouldn't be up and down, up and down, up and down. It's not healthy, right? It's healthy to just, for the most part.
I know I'm not interrupting, Sonia.
Part, we're up and down,
like I'm reviewing this, but what she's saying, I don't want to interrupt because it's not healthy. She's spot on.
It's like when I keep hearing, oh my God, Tiffany Marie is so upset. She really cares. She's so upset. She's so upset. To me, that doesn't demonstrate genuine empathy, right? That is an example for me personally of cold empathy. It's just somebody saying how upset she seems, right? For me, it's a red flag because why are you not keeping healthy boundaries? Why? Boundaries protect you. So why do you not want to protect yourself, right? Because you've got a real life that you must cherish and enjoy, right? So not keeping emotional boundaries means that your real life gets affected, right? To such a degree. You're not sleeping. Your sleeping pattern's out of sync. Your whole life's in turmoil because you're so deeply invested in this case, right? That isn't a person that keeps healthy boundaries. The same with MGL when she's saying, I wanted to adopt Carter Gurman.
Exactly. You rewired your brain. The chemicals that are being released,
again with the over
and the
emotional
receptors and all of that
reactions and feelings, everything's histrionic
rewired,
and blown up and huge.
And it takes a while to get
watch healthy human beings when
back,
they cry
or when they show emotion, if you can.
It's not, you don't see great big highs. Like if you just feel sad, it's like, I just feel shit, right? I just feel shit. Really upset, right? That would be healthy. This is kind of how they do it. I'm just so upset. This is all just wrong. I just can't cope with it anymore. This is not right. This is just not right. What can we do? What do we need to do? I don't know what to do next. There you go with your example, right? Healthy human beings aren't doing that even when they're upset, right? You watch a normal person cry or show emotion. There's not all this great big pantomime display. These are your red flags to look for, right? When someone's angry or pissed off, it can be, do you know what? I'm fucking pissed off. I'm absolutely fucking pissed off. I'm just so pissed off with this, right? Whereas when they're showing you pissed off, it's, I'm just so pissed off. This isn't right. That isn't right. Everything's wrong. MGL screaming at people through the camera on a live stream. All of these types of behavior that you're seeing, they're your red flags. It doesn't display at all somebody that has genuine empathy for a case of a missing child or a murdered child. That would be an example of cold empathy. It's just cold empathy. It doesn't show or prove you nothing, right? The evidence of empathy within people, you see over a period of time. And you see it by accident, right? But narcissistic types of people, cluster B types of personalities, they're about the over display, right? Because they're pretending to be like the rest of us, right? But they get the pretending wrong, the mirroring wrong, right? Everything's over the top, right? They have to shout about what emotion they're feeling. I'm just so sad, I'm just gutted, I just can't believe it, it's just not right. You get all of that, the histrionics. Where if it's a healthy person upset, it's rare that you will see them flip out to that degree. But with these people that we're watching, right, and I don't just mean these two that I've named, there's plenty of them, right? See for yourselves. You'll, like, I think I've outlined enough so that you can tell the difference between healthy people covering the case and toxic people covering the case. I was going to touch on something then, and it just absolutely went out of my mind. Right, so I'll just go back to the cold empathy aspect. Oh, it was about mirroring, right? But I'll just go back to this cold empathy aspect. When we say, oh my God, I love that so much, right? Or, oh, look at my dog, it's so cute. They're not displays of genuine empathy, but uneducated people, right? As we all are, because I was like this too until I started learning and, reading and studying things like this.
Just about a diet 7-Up.
We mistake those acts. to mean
don't
that
drink
this person
alcohol.
has empathy, right? The same way when we know that somebody works in a nursing home looking after the elderly or people with dementia, right? We go on to naturally assume that person must be a caring person, right? Not necessarily so. None of those types of things demonstrate that the person you are around isn't a sociopath.
And this is so important to remember, because a lot of times
they're in demonstrations called empathy.
people in those fields, right? Are in those fields
you see genuine
for
empathy
appearances
over a period of time, and you often see it by accident. So I'm just going to finish this and I'll go back to the mirroring. Me personally, I suggest people stay away from over-emotional creators. It doesn't demonstrate empathy at all, but somebody unbalanced who doesn't keep boundaries, right? Stop looking up to YouTubers. I made a post on this just yesterday. I was in a bad mood about it, right? Stop looking up to YouTubers. Stop idealizing them and believing them to be great people, right? Stop needing a place to belong on the internet to the point where you'll ignore toxic behavior just so you have a place to belong. Be true to yourself. Stop giving all these narcissistic, toxic types of people all your attention and all your support, because
that is such great advice.
People please or fixer codependent nature, right? We pour everything we have into the person that we're trying to please, right? Into the person that we're trying to have a connection with. We overpour all of ourselves into that person. We give our everything to the relationships that we keep around us, right? It's not healthy. You've got to pull back and keep boundaries, right? Stop over idealizing and love bombing on these creators, because you'll be duped, right? Stop falling for charming behavior and believing that charming behavior means that they're a good person. Charming behavior isn't a personality trait. It's something that we all put on, right? You put it on for the camera to give yourself a good kind of camera presence so that the people watching can connect with you, right? That's using charm and charisma, okay? But narcissists and sociopaths and psychopaths, they are excellent at continuing the charming behavior to suck you in, right? And suck you in their doom. They are amazing manipulators and you fall for it. So stop looking up to YouTubers. Just stop, right? They're not perfect people. You cannot be that desperately in need of a place to hang that you will put up with toxic behavior. I watch people do it with Katie, right? I knew half of those people would not put up with that behavior in real life or even accept it from their own children. I watched them do it for Katie, right? Ignore the toxicity.
I think that's a good barometer too.
I've watched them do
Let me stop her real quick. I think that's a good barometer for how we decide where we're going to go on the internet. Asking ourselves, when we're watching someone, is this someone that in my real life I would sit and listen to the same thing that they're saying now? Is this someone whose information I would seek out in real life? Start comparing what's acceptable to you with what would be acceptable in your real life. And would you sit in a diner or in a coffee house or on a park bench with this person if they were yelling and being dramatic and crying and being overly emotional and, screaming slurs at people and talking about, if you're sitting on a park bench with someone and everyone who walks by, they're stating this person's flaws. Oh my God, that hair. Oh my God, look at her nose. Her nose is so big. Would you continue to sit on that park bench with this person if they were behaving the way that they are behaving in this live stream? Okay. Now, I know a lot of you probably would not continue to sit on the park bench with me because I would bore you. I'm not for everyone, and I understand that. But if you would continue to sit on a park bench with someone who is behaving the way that they're behaving in these live streams, then by all means continue to watch it. But I would venture a guess that for most of us, no, we would get up from the table in the diner or from the park bench, and we would politely or impolitely let the person know that we are not staying. You know, whether that's, hey, I forgot I have an appointment and I need to go, whatever. We would not sit and listen to that and be a part of that. And I know that the internet is different than real life in many, many ways. We don't have as much accountability for what we sit and watch or what we witness, what we become part of. We're not held accountable like we are in real life. But would you sit on a park bench watching your children play while this lady is doing this? No, you would not. You would absolutely get up, for most of us, and distance yourself from that behavior. And a lot of people who are listening to this have children in their homes when they're listening. Would you let your children on the playground sit and witness this kind of behavior? No. But because you're doing it in the behind the anonymity of your screen and privately in your home, consider that. Would you let your children hear this going on in the background at a park? No. You would get up and you would either take your children out of that environment where they couldn't hear this level of just inappropriate behavior, or you would approach the person and say, hey, listen, there are children here on this playground, and you need to remove yourself from this situation. Which it doesn't work that way on the internet. We all acknowledge that we are responsible for being of age, and if someone's listening in the background, that's your own fault if a child is hearing it. But you would definitely, probably for most people, not put up with this kind of behavior. Right, Donna. I think most people would. I think if someone came up to me and said some of the things that people on the internet have said to me, they would leave with less teeth. Or fewer teeth, I should say. So yeah, it's just start comparing the two. What would you allow in your actual life, and in your actual arm's reach around you? And I think that's a good barometer for what we will allow for the internet. Okay, let's finish up Sonia here. She is very wise about this stuff.
YouTubers, right? And now with this trauma drama, it's the same thing again, right? Idealizing and love bombing YouTubers simply because they're covering a case and showing an over display of emotion 24/7. It's insanity. It doesn't mean anything about being a good person. If anything, it shows how unbalanced they are and how obsessed and fixated on this that they are, that they can't keep good boundaries and mental distance. That's just me though. So I'll touch on the mirroring, right? Another thing about another pro tip, right? Pro tip about spotting a narcissist is, right, the mirror. So we know that they mirror our behavior to emulate us, right? So that we fall for them, right? They pretend to be us and dupe us into falling for them, right? So this mirroring, right? Say like if you went to someone, or say like if you saw your partner messaging a girl, right? And your first reaction was, what the fuck are you doing, right? A narcissist would respond with, what do you mean, what the fuck am I doing? What the fuck are you doing? You're fucking always going off at me, fucking drama queen. I'm not fucking doing anything. What's your fucking problem, right? That's a narcissistic response. A healthy partner.
I think it's a good way to gauge it.
Right?
Yes,
say,
good for you.
Who are you messaging? Right? I didn't know you knew this person. A healthy boyfriend or partner, girlfriend, would respond and say, what? What do you mean? What we're doing? I'm not doing anything. Here, look. I'm not doing anything. Just messaging this person I know from work. She's just asked me about bringing in a file for tomorrow. Right? That's what a healthy person would do. The narcissist mirrors even your anger, right? So if you go to them and you're like, I can't fucking believe you just did that. You just broke my favorite thing or whatever, right? They will match your behavior, your mood, right? So like, it wasn't my fucking fault. You're always fucking going off at me. For fuck's sake, I'm fucking off away from this. I'm going out, right? They're the type of responses you will get with narcissists. Whereas a healthy person, they'll just respond, right? But the narcissist, right, because they're always having to grandstand, they're always having to posture, they're better and bigger and bolder, right? And they're just better than you in every way, okay? So they can't have it that you come to them and say something like that. They have to match it or double it, right? Bring it, give you double force. So whereas a healthy partner would say, hang on, what are you speaking to me like that for? What do you mean what we're doing? I'm not doing anything. Here's my phone. That's a healthy partner. A narcissist will match your tone. They'll mirror it, right? Because again, they're pretending to be a normal person and they aren't. I'm going to close it off here. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if it was a rant or if you disagree. You're free to in the comment section. You can share a different opinion. This is only mine. It doesn't mean it's fact. It doesn't mean that everybody has to agree with me. It's just simply a perception, okay? It's how I see things. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing if you haven't. Hit the like or dislike, either is fine. And for now, love lots. And until next time, bye for now.
All right. So that link is pinned at the top. It's also in the chat and it's in my description. Go over and leave Sonia a comment or a thumbs up. Subscribe to her if this is the kind of thing you're interested in. I just thought it was important to share that. And I don't think that enough people subscribe to Sonia. She is a fountain of information about these types of things. Like I said, she is especially good with narcissistic behavior and educating people on that. She's also very good at codependency, domestic violence things. She just really is a fountain of information. And like I said, even if I don't learn something new when I listen to her, I am able to realize things that I have not reminded myself of for a while. I always come away from her videos with some sort of renewal of my knowledge or new knowledge. And I think that's an important thing on the internet. So please do check out her channel. Also, as I said earlier, you know, if you're finding yourself stressed and overwhelmed, even if you don't think you are, commit to 7 days of staying away from these topics and these channels and just see if you feel any different after 7 days. If you do, I would encourage you to extend that to a 30-day commitment and see how much different or better you feel by then. A lot of times what I found from doing that is that even when I tried to return, it was very hard for me to reestablish the interest I had in these streams. And I just was not able. It does take about, the research shows that about 30 days to break a habit. And so if you can stay away from this type of behavior and live streaming for 30 days, you'll probably see an increase in your wellness in many ways. It's hard at first. It really is, especially when you've got those notifications turned on. So, maybe go turn off notifications to these. You don't have to unsub, but turn off your notifications so that they're not there, reminding you that you're missing out, because we all have that FOMO, right? If you're the fear of missing out on something big and important, but really none of these things are that big or important. And I think you realize that more as you're away from them, that they are affecting your real life, but they have nothing to do with your real life. So staying away from them, it makes you realize how much they were affecting your real life, but how little they have to do with your real life. And you'll probably be better for it. I stayed away for a while, but I did feel better. Yeah, you will feel better. Even if it's just that you accomplish more in your real life during a day, it will make you feel better. But taking away all those strong emotional triggers will change the chemistry and settle your brain down. We don't always have to be activated. We don't always have to be stimulated. Sometimes it's just okay to be. And we have gotten ourselves with 24-hour news cycles and, you know, the internet and an endless amount, an infinite amount of information at our fingertips, and the choice that we're going to allow all this overstimulation to occur, we've gotten ourselves into a place where our brains become addicted to being constantly activated by emotion or by the chemicals that are released, the dopamine hit, the adrenaline, and it's all terribly bad for your physical and mental well-being. So I don't want to go on. I've been on here for way longer than I ever go live. I do want to invite everyone, though, tomorrow night. Tomorrow is my birthday. It's also Teresa Loves Retro's birthday. And I don't think she's going to be able to be here because she has other obligations. But this will be the 4th year that I've celebrated my birthday on YouTube. And so I want to invite you all to come in. It will be at 8 Central, which is 9 Eastern. I'm going to be live at least for an hour. I've got some games planned. I hope you will come and celebrate with me, have some fun, and it will be just pure fun. No drama, no, nothing dramatic, or it's going to be laughter and games and some music. And so I'm going to be 51 years old, and I want to bring 51 in feeling good. So join me tomorrow, 8 p.m. Central, right here on my channel. And like I said, if you haven't, please go subscribe to Sonia and have a great day. Hopefully, we all have the day we deserve. All right, I'm out of here. Bye-bye. It was great to see you.